Alright, we're taking a look at my early Austrian straight pull rifle collection, 1886s, 88s, and 90s. Okay, and like I was saying, I finally found an example, which is the third one from the top of an 1888. Well, to make it simple, I've done some research, and there's three basic models of these guns. 1886, which is the one at the top, okay, and the one below it is an 1886, again in the Verndl caliber that has been shortened and modified. The next one would be a 1888, which is the third one, and then a pure 1890, which I do not have. And in the next video, I will explain to you why I don't have it and the difference in the variations. And this video, once we go over what we have, there's some red flags with this 1888 that I'm going to cover and discuss. So we're missing the 1890. Then the next one, those are the three main rifles. Now there are three variations of them. The first one is the 1886/90, and that would be where they took one at the top, the larger gun, and put the new barrel for smokeless powder, the 1890 model, onto that rifle. Now how you would tell is if you look at the magazines protruding, and if you measure, and I'll show you, the 1886 with the larger cartridge, from the stock down to the bottom of the port is 2 inches. Okay, so you would have to have a rifle that had that longer, and with the 1888s and after, the distance is 1 3/4 inches roughly. So to tell if you had an 86/90, you would measure the magazines, and if it's the longer magazine, and there's also 2 rivets because the cartridge is shorter for a block, so it's pretty easy to tell. That first variation we don't have, and I've never seen one. Next is with the 4th and 5th rifle are, the next variation is the 88/90. How this variation came about is they were 1888 rifles. They had a black powder cartridge, and then when they went to smokeless, they had to change the sight distances. So there's a sleeve put over the sights with the new yardage or strit or whatever it was distances. And rifle number 4 and 5 are 1888/90s. Now the rifle on the bottom is called an 1888/95. That's what the one website is. And basically what that is one of these rifles with a, you can tell by the sight, an M95 style barrel put on, fitted to it. I kind of believe that nomenclature should be 1890/95. And the reason is the difference between the 88 and the 90 is the length of the barrel. The barrel's reinforced, so the end of the barrel, the stud or shaft or whatever, over the chamber is thicker and noticeably thicker. And we'll go over that when we go through the different models. But that's what we're looking at. And for right now, I'm going to take rifle number 3. And I'm going to discuss this purchase. I already did an overview of it. And some of the things I found, I could have just got anxious and took something, but there's some red flags on this rifle that make me wonder if it was just assembled from a bunch of parts. Well, if you've seen the first video I made on this gun when I acquired it, we took a fairly close look at this firearm. Now I'm making this section to go over some of the red flags I found about this gun. These firearms, it's very confusing, very tricky, to figure out which model you have or what you're looking at a picture on an auction unless you've learned the telltale differences, which are somewhat very minute and hard to discern from buying the gun at a long distance online. So I got this rifle, we went over it. It looks in fairly good condition, okay, but here are some red flags, and I did notice them. It was just I was really anxious to get one that was somewhat in 1888. First off, if you look at the finish on the receiver and the barrel, it's pretty normal wear. Actually fairly good for a gun that's been around. Okay? You know, a little discoloration, the bluing's a little worn on the receiver, you know. The bolt is clean, and it has the correct rear sight on there for said gun. But if we look, the magazine and trigger guard has been basically re-blued or re-arsenaled, which could have been done by an arsenal. I mean, the markings then are correct. And the butt plate is also re-blued. Now, the stock has some tiny repairs. They're arsenal repairs. You know, one's here, one's down there. Some staining along the wood line and some roughness. And that can be fine, you know. I knew it wasn't a pristine piece. So this is another issue, okay? If you have, and like the barrel bands in that are very nicely done in that. So this kind of leads me to believe that this stock, the re-blued trigger guard, did not come together with the barreled action. Okay, again, so you say, hey, check the serial numbers in that. Well, and here's another thing. When I was looking at this, I was trying to find the serial number. And of course, this individual, the way he took the pictures, he doesn't have a clear shot or something you can zoom in, or when I did, of where the serial number was supposed to be. Okay, and this is another issue. Here on the left-hand side of the rifle, generally right in this area here, there should be some sort of a serial number. There is on every other single gun that I have here. And also, there should be, in this area, here on top of the barrel, an acceptance date of when the Army accepted this into inventory. And there isn't. This has been polished, and this may have been re-blued or something at one time, but there are no markings where there should be markings. Okay, so that's a red flag. I did notice that, but this gun has the correct 1888 rear sight. Okay, and I wanted an example so I can learn from it and show other people how to tell the difference. And the other thing I was talking about is the barrel shank here, the distance from the end of the receiver to this point in the barrel. And when we get two of them together, I can show you the difference. And that's another way of telling, because these older 88s using the black powder cartridge, which also was an 8x52 rimmed, not an 8x50. 8x50's smokeless cartridge. These black powder guns use different ammo, okay, and the case was longer. Henceforth, the difference in the throat and how I can weasel in larger bullets to get these things to shoot accurately. So, What they did with the 1890, and this is how I know I do not have an actual 1890. Like I said, the three different basic models are the 1886, the 1880, and the 1890. The difference with the 1890 is by then that gun was built for the smokeless powder. That shank is longer and reinforced to absorb the pressure, the higher pressure of smokeless powder. And that's how you could tell the difference. And also the plates that go on the side, because all they did to these is change the sight plate and issue them as is and went with smokeless powder. That's the only thing different between this 1888 and the 1888/90 was a quick fix. They just changed the sight numbers with a plate and then reissued the guns. And it wasn't until 1890 that they actually purpose-built the gun, but with a reinforced area in the barrel for the chamber, and the sights have no plate because they, made the correct sight with the new guns. And basically that's about the only difference you can tell from this one and the 1890. It's confusing because they're all identical, and it's very easy to get the nomenclature or get the model wrong because they were modifying and changing the existing guns, and to find one like this that hasn't been modified is difficult. Okay, and the reason they never modified all of them is because whenever they had a changeover, they always had stores of ammunition, the old ammunition. Well, if you convert all the guns, you can't use the old ammo. So some were kept probably and left somewhere specifically until the older ammunition supplies were used up. That's why you get this confusion and why didn't they convert it. But to me, after examining this gun a lot closer, this probably is an 1888 barrel and the chamber and everything. And I mean, it doesn't look like it's been shot. That fulminated mercury priming, I mean, if it was used a little bit, the bore would be weird looking. This bore is probably, for an antique, as close to mint as you're going to get. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is, and during the auction there was interest in this, but a sharper, more astute collector, okay, would know that there's these red flags. And this could have been assembled from a group of parts. There's no way to prove it. They didn't serial number every individual screw and band and part like some countries do, so there's no way to tell. Plus, during World War I, they were in such a panic and short of guns, they were just taking things in, repairing them, assembling them, and getting them out to the front line as fast as they could. Okay? It could be something that was done like that. It could be something left over from the war because they had to pay war reparations. They re-arsenal the guns or put them together, and then they had to give them away as war reparation. Or somebody just knows what they're doing and little by little put it together, collected it, and assembled a gun. That's the thing. And the reason I'm making this is to help you learn. Okay, like I said, a real astute collector. That's why this gun kind of didn't go high. There was somebody else that wanted this, and I got into a bidding war with him and kind of really ran this up more than I should have. Okay, but I wanted it, I needed it to fill a gap and to make content and actually have a physical example where I can tell you this is the correct 1888 sight, and this is what a sight looks like that has been modified. See, this is my issue. So in a way, it's not a loss. I kind of don't regret it. I'm glad I got it. I can make content now. And I can also, give you guys a lesson in collecting. And the hardest thing when you collect is to have handled and looked at it, not owned, but to look at someone else's collection or look at something closely and examine it closely, which you can't do with stuff in a museum or someone's private collection or at a gun show. You know, you can eyeball it and examine it, but see, this is a tough thing without videos and an explanation. It used to be you would go visit, when I was younger, an older collector, and he would show me his pieces in his collection, and I got to actually look at them. And my memory's still good, sometimes, but I remember, and then I would know 30, 40 years later when I seen something, this ain't right. Because I know from all them years ago when I looked at, you know, stuff that I knew was correct, that this stuff isn't correct. I can spot fakeries or something that's been modified or altered. You know, that somebody took something that maybe wasn't in nicest shape and then kind of spruced it up and, you know, re-blew it and that. Because obviously if this was all covered in rust and the back of the butt plate was all rusty, that would not be attractive to people to bid on and spend money. So that's my take on this. Now in the next video, I'm going to go through, now I have this example, and we'll look at, starting with the 1886, and I'll go over the different points and little technical things like measuring the length of the magazine to tell the difference between an 1886 magazine and an 1888 in post, you know, manufactured magazine. And we'll look at the ammo and all the other fun stuff. Okay? So please hit the like button, subscribe, and that helps the algorithm. And what I'm going to do is make a playlist and just put this probably at the beginning and then all my different videos on this topic. Alright? Thank you.